to the Retrograde
video game podcast, where this week we talk about the best first-person games of all time.
Wow. My name is Andrew Bascom. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
My perspective key, Aaron Word.
That's my perspective key.
Because it's coming straight down the pipe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't even get to look at me.
No.
I just get to look forward.
If you looked through my eyes, though, it's very much like a They Live kind of thing, where I just see everyone as a zombie.
Yeah. Everyone looks just hideous. And
Yeah,
monstrous.
just disgusting.
Yeah.
Just gross.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the person sitting across the fucking
I
room
was
from
going to
me.
say, fuck off. Yeah, that's just hurtful.
We're excited about this.
Okay.
A longtime listener. Okay. We're excited.
Sure. Speak for us. Yeah.
I am, at least. I know Joe Griffin, friend of the podcast, longtime listener, recommended something around the concept of a genre draft, which I love the idea of. And what we thought about was, what are some of the most iconic genres or styles of games that have a ton of different selections in there, from classic games to modern games, that would allow us to draft our own teams of 5 to build out the better team using only games in that style of game.
Yeah. I'm very curious, because this is, first-person shooters is kind of like one of the biggest style of games that you could possibly ask for. And so, like, getting it down to 5, or the ones we leave behind, or the ones you choose, I think are going to be very interesting.
Did you struggle getting the list down to 5? Like, I know obviously you have to pick more because you don't know. There's going to be some that's going to be on both of our lists, but did you struggle with that?
We're both drafting 5, right?
Yeah.
And so I always get to 10, because then I know for sure, no matter what.
Oh man, I could not limit it to 10. I had so many on this
Really?
list. Yeah.
Oh, I'm very curious.
Very curious. We'll get to that in a little bit. We'll get to our genre draft. But before then, I've got some gaming updates, Andrew. It's been a while since I've talked about some of my gaming habits. The one game that I've been stuck on recently, not stuck on in a bad way, but I just can't get out of my head, is a game that was actually recommended to us from the Pixelated Thoughts podcast, Ken over there. He said, try out Nine Souls, which I know I've been kind of like really harping on the idea of Souls-likes and how there's so many of them. And if you're going to play this, why wouldn't you just play Dark Souls? Nine Souls is a game that came out in May, I believe. It's on Steam. I think it's probably on some other consoles. I'm playing it on my Steam Deck right now. And it is a Souls-like, but it's 2D and kind of Metroidvania-esque.
Okay.
The combat, though, in it, even though it's 2D, is very reminiscent of Sekiro, which is a game that I was obsessed with, as I talked about in the past few weeks. I was obsessed with over the last couple months. And I'm finding that, I don't know, do you ever struggle with this when you play a game and it's so good that it just makes you struggle to find the next game that you're going to play?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have one, not to put you on the spot, but like on the top of your head, that like you got kind of obsessed with, or even are currently, and that just makes it hard for you to get into other ones?
Yeah. I think Fortnite has held that spot for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think after Red Dead 2.
True. Yeah.
I think there was a little bit of like a funeral for that, where you kind of wanted to go back and play a little bit more. And you're like, but like only because I think the ending's so impactful.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing for Last of Us 2.
Yep.
The ending's so impactful that you kind of go like, oh boy,
100%.
Jumping. And then also, I will say, but those two games had the opposite effect, where I wanted to spend more time in the world of Red Dead because it's just so, bountiful, just stuff happening all the time. Whereas Last of Us kind of made me want to go like, oh, I want nothing to do with that game.
100%.
Christ.
I need to like reset and go do some other shit. There's story for sure, and then there's also just mechanics, which for me Dark Souls did a ton of, and Overwatch was just such a guarantee that I could turn it on and know exactly what I was doing in the game and know I was going to have a good time doing it. So Sekiro, just that kind of like combat with the parry mechanics, and it's almost rhythm based, really just kind of got under my skin in a way that I'm like, this is the type of game that I want to play. And Nine Souls does a really good job of emulating it, just on that 2D plane. The story itself, basically you're like a cat kind of figure, and it's a revenge plot. It starts with almost like a Lion King-esque scene where there's someone, you're hanging on a cliff, and she like dashes you off the cliff and you almost die and you're brought back to life. And now you have to go back to your homeland essentially and Kill Bill your way back to the top.
Whoa.
Kill everyone who betrayed you and get back to it, which is like a cool idea for a story. I think the narrative process in the game is a little bit strained. I think it takes a bit too long to tell some of the stories. Maybe it's a little bit too dialogue heavy. But the minute-to-minute gameplay, the boss encounters, the exploration and the style of Dark Souls, I'm really, really liking it.
Yeah.
It's similar to Sekiro, where it gives you that like kind of a forgiving parry mechanic. You never feel like you're too overwhelmed. You're like, no matter what's going on with this fight, I can probably like make my way through to the end, even with just like a sliver of health, as long as I commit to playing a disciplined style of gameplay. And I always like a rewarding game like that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
So Nine Souls is out there. I want to kind of sing its praises. Like I'm at the point now where I'm considering this like a special game. Like it's probably among my front runners for game of the year right now.
Wow.
It would be Sekiro if Sekiro came out this year, but it didn't. But it's just kind of a nice answer and almost like a good little dessert to cap off my experience with Sekiro, which I was away recently and I had my Steam Deck and I was thinking of a lot of games that I could play. And my instinct was, I'm just going to re-download Sekiro on my Steam Deck and start the game from scratch. Like that game, it just really worked for me in a way that I'm so surprised it didn't when I first started playing it. But there we are.
That's amazing that, there's now you're on a little bit of a kick of games that you didn't like originally and then like the second time around.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I wonder what that's all about.
It's the same,
time and place.
It may be a little time and place. I think a little bit of context as to what the game was as opposed to what I expected it to be. Okay. I think that's important. And I've been doing that with movies a lot too, where I'll go back and rewatch a movie that I thought I disliked. And the difference is that I know what the movie is as opposed to what I thought it might be based on the trailer or what my mood was. And I think that just kind of allows you to put yourself in the headspace for that type of movie. Right. And then you watch it and then you get to experience it as it was intended. And same with games.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, say there's a lot of games coming out. We did our little summer breakdown.
We did.
And I will say in the next couple months, do you have a game that's like circled calendars?
Yeah, the big one, which is out now as of the recording, but I haven't had a chance to really dig into it, is the DLC for Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. A game where a DLC, I guess, where the more I see about it, the more I think I might not play it.
Oh, interesting.
It feels like all I hear about it is that the boss encounters are wildly more difficult than the base game itself. I already thought, exactly. Like I don't know who actually wanted that. I'm sure there's a subsect of gamers that believes sick freaks. Yeah. Sick freaks that just fucking want to die over and over again. Just do it in real life.
Yeah. Cowards.
You cowards.
So that DLC and you're like,
Yeah, I like the idea. So what they're doing with Shadow of the Erdtree is they're having the leveling system kind of relative to just the DLC area itself, which I actually find really interesting. So it's like you have to access that space, which is typical of all the Dark Souls, Bloodborne kind of games, where it's like you have to get to a point within the main story that you can access the DLC area. But once you're in there, the mechanics they use to level up your character and get you more power are kind of unique to that area, and they don't follow you out. And what you've done outside doesn't really affect you as much inside. So that's really cool. It almost makes it a separate game entirely. But the idea of starting Elden Ring again, relearning the mechanics, only to be faced with bosses which are more difficult than like the most notoriously difficult bosses in the base game of Elden Ring. I already thought Elden Ring was too difficult and kind of balanced away from a standard way of playing, just like a dex build. It encouraged you to use magic and summons and all this stuff in a way that I didn't want to play a Souls game, which I've litigated ad nauseum on this podcast in the past. So I don't know, the more I see about it, the less interested I am. And it's a shame. This may be the first FromSoft content that I don't play apart from Armored Core in like decades, a long time, a decade. Yeah.
That's crazy. And then the other one is the Alan Wake DLC came out.
Yes.
Are you going to play that?
I am going to play that. I'm surprised I haven't yet. I think, to be honest, I just still have a little bit of that, the Twitch mechanic itch under my skin to play something like Nine Souls, which was a little bit more combat focused. But yeah, the bite-sized nature of a DLC in Alan Wake is something I'm really excited for. That's awesome. I might wait for the next episode to release before I dig into the first one, just so I can kind of be in a little bit more of a rhythm with it, as opposed to relearning the mechanics, refamiliarizing myself, and then going back. Which, do you find this as well, gaming, where like the older you get, the harder it is to pick something up and remember where you left off?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even to the point that also my patience level is so low that if I find it didn't save to the exact moment that I turned off the screen, I'm like, oh, fuck this. Like, what am I doing?
100%.
Yeah, like repeating any part of it, I'm like, ugh.
I've always despised that, which makes me think maybe a Dark Souls kind of formula you wouldn't like, because there is a lot of repetition, but it's repetition until you succeed and then you don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But, for me, it's even like mechanics. Like even Nine Souls, I didn't get to play it for like 4 days. And then I picked it back up and I was like, wait, so what are the controls again? I just feel like I'm getting so dumb the older that I get. It's really disappointing. I don't love that feeling very much, but that And the one actually thing that we didn't get to talk about when we were doing Summer Game Fest, and I realized I haven't mentioned this at all on the podcast since recording the Summer Game Fest episode, the Nintendo Direct happened a few days removed from kind of those festivities. You know, Metroid Prime 4, great. I was never a huge fan of that franchise, the Prime franchise specifically. The only game I want to touch on there is the new Zelda game.
Oh.
So it is a Zelda game in the same style of Link to the Past. Or sorry, Link's Awakening.
Okay.
Jesus. Am I getting that right? Yeah, Link's Awakening. The kind of like storybook kind of style, or like the toy style of gameplay that you got in the remake, but it's you play as Zelda, which is unbelievable. Cool. I fucking can't wait for that. That awesome. Sounds amazing. It almost looks like a sequel to that game, which I consider to be kind of my favorite Zelda game of all time.
Wow. So you have a Zelda game, you have a Peach game. Okay,
Ooh,
liberals.
Wow. Wow. And you believe that?
I definitely.
No, you just say it to look at the camera.
No, I but I do. So like that's that. I believe that.
You think there's too many women in games?
Do I think there's too many women in games?
You do?
Do I think that?
I'm just going to cut that and edit it so that you say, I do think that.
Yeah. Just flip it. Yeah. There was a few things on the Nintendo Direct. I don't want to get too much into it. The Mario Party thing.
Yes. I'm always excited for a new
looks
Mario
cool.
Party game.
There's a Mario Luigi game that,
based on a style of game, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, that came out on the Game Boy Advance, which was kind of like a Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario style of combat engine, which I really liked. I thought that was a great game on the Game Boy Advance, so I'm excited for that one too.
Yeah, so there's some stuff out there. I will say my game that I'm most excited for, and this is going to surprise nobody, is the NCAA college football.
Oh yeah.
It's coming out. Everything that they've done for it trailer wise is just like, oh my God, hell yeah. Even the Delta Dawn song, this is a very specific thing. If you're on a weird part of TikTok that I'm on, it's all about like, it's this very low country song.
Yeah.
And it's just NCAA like school specific things.
Amazing.
And it's just so good. And I was just reading through a chart the other day of like, which schools should you start with? Because there's like 60 plus schools in there, right? Like of like the best, there's the Alabamas and the Georgias and stuff like that. And it goes all the way down to
UCLA.
So UCLA would be, no, these are like very mid. Those are very mid schools. I would say like the best schools, like
Duke. Oh, sorry. This is football. Sorry.
Yeah, this is football. Yeah. Oh, so sorry. I should make this
basketball.
I should make this incredibly clear. This is football.
Right. But the Duke basketball team is great at football.
I don't know. Are they?
Oh, so
they don't have enough players. That's tough.
Well,
and not the proper equipment
because they're so good.
Right.
Yeah, they just wear those leather helmets.
Yeah. We really thought those were doing something. And I was just looking at the chart of like, you must be a cop if you're like, I'm gonna play with Georgia. You're like, what fun is this? They were the runners up in the national championship game. Like I'm gonna play as Michigan. Like really? Like okay, is that fun for you?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm pretending like I know what you're talking about.
Well, these are very good teams, right?
Oh,
and so a big part of maybe I should explain this.
Yeah,
is that a big part of this game is recruiting, right?
Oh,
is going into people's living rooms and looking at people's parents and going like, bring them all the way to UCLA, like you're saying, right?
Do you have to play football? Or do you just get to go in people's living room
if you wanted to?
I just want to go in their living room.
Yeah, 100%. You're like, this is a nice living room.
This is really nice.
And it becomes a Sims for you?
Yeah. Oh my God, you cover your furniture with plastic. That's psychotic. Why do you do that?
Why? Who's ever going to enjoy this furniture?
No.
When you're dead?
Yeah. You wear shoes in here because this is the United States? Take your shoes off when you enter a house.
What the hell's that?
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
If you're from the United States, first of all, I salute you.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Secondly,
every time I see like a movie or TV character and they have their like shoes on in bed.
Yeah.
Or like on top of the bed. I'm always like, yeah. Also sleeping in socks. But I will say that's a fun part of the game. It's like going into people's living rooms and be like, you need to bring them to North Texas because I work for Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to make them into a star or something like that. I love that part of the game. And so the idea that like you're already starting with the best roster and the best connections and stuff is kind of like, what fun is this game to you?
Fair. But also, like be a pro in NHL, you want to play on like the Maple Leafs or something.
Well, sure, because they're your favorite team. And I would say the only thing that takes me away from this is if they're your alma mater or you are from Georgia, I do get the idea of you're like, yeah, I want to cheer for the Bulldogs. I get that. But if you're like from Seattle and you're like, I'm just gonna choose the best team, you're like, I don't know what to say, man. Like,
do you think there's people who like went to North Carolina and then
once again, a basketball school?
Yeah, I'm only thinking NCAA basketball.
You know nothing about college football? The second most popular sport in America?
I don't gamble.
Right, okay.
So I don't really watch college football. That's like everyone who do you know anyone who watches college football that isn't placing bets on the games?
Yes.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you know what? The kids' parents?
No, it is the second most popular sport in America.
Yeah, because America loves gambling.
It's not gambling. It's well before it was gambling. You know how popular college football is?
Oh, yeah.
You seem insane right now, by the way. This is outside of this
Andrew,
room. It's insane.
When you say that, it makes you sound insane. I'm not insane. I swear to God. You're insane. You're the insane one.
You're going to the big house in Michigan. You're like, look at 125,000 people. You disgusting gamblers. What are you all doing here?
Shame on you.
Shame
on you.
Yeah.
I'm walking through naked saying shame. Like, wait, this isn't the
I didn't gamble, so I am not watching the game. No.
I'm excited that you're excited for that. I did play an NCAA basketball game back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
I did. You know, it's
keep bringing it back to basketball, eh?
I got it. It's the only reference point I got. But do you know if in this new one, because obviously the name, image, likeness, whatever rulings for the NCAA, players can now make money off of their own image.
Likeness, yeah.
Are there real players in this game?
There are real players in this game. I think there's only one someone can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm aware of one famous person that withheld. His name is Arch Manning, and he is the nephew of Eli and Peyton Manning.
Wow.
And he is going to be the starter at Texas.
Why would he have withheld, do you think?
I don't really understand. It's one of these insane reasons that we just let athletes just say stuff and we go, okay. He goes like, I can't. I have to focus on football. They're like, you don't have to play in the games, right? Like
he's like, no, every time someone turns this console on and I gotta be there again. I gotta throw another pass. I just threw one for your buddy down the street.
Yeah, like it is one of those like, okay. Like unless he thought he was doing like Arch Manning's college football 2025, I don't really fully understand.
Power drive.
But yeah, no, there is real players in the game, yeah, supposedly.
I like that because I found it weird playing Duke in NCAA.
Here we go again.
Basketball. And I'm playing with an amazing shooting guard, unbelievable shooting guard. You haven't seen a shooting guard like this at this age, but his name's not JJ Redick.
Yeah.
It's RC Cars.
RC Cars.
I am excited for that. I'm assuming there's like be a pro kind of thing.
Yeah, there'll be like, you can be an individual player, probably get recruited.
Yeah.
Do that whole thing. But I just love the franchise mode of like taking over a program.
Yeah.
And because it for some reason feels the most realistic.
Yeah.
Because it is a school that you're like, I'm the head coach. This is how things are going to get run. Whereas more like you get
first of all, vacuum your carpets.
Yeah.
Second,
also, one of my things I hate about sports is like, we're going to put a big logo on this carpet and none of you can step on it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, well, then don't put it on the fucking ground.
Don't put it on the ground.
Yeah, put it on the ceiling then.
Yeah,
like,
do the thing where I can like hit it as I'm walking under a stairwell or something.
That is also one of my favorite parts of this game. Is all the little traditions that they have from all the stadiums and they're all in the game.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I just love that. Like play like a pro today, like the Notre Dame, you hit the rock, you walk down the Clemson Hill, like the whole thing. It's like, it's going to be so good.
Or like how in the Florida Gators, when they won their basketball tournament and they were when Wakeem Noah cut the nets and then started doing the Gator thing.
Yeah. Joakim Noah. Yeah. It's going to be, it makes me really think about NCAA basketball when I think about it. Wow. Jesus.
Well, it sounds like that game's going to be a slam dunk.
Well done, Mikey. I do like the idea that somebody puts up a kick and you're like, 3-pointer. And you're like, whoa.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, well, no, I know. Yeah.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. I like that you were going to find that interesting. And then you went, I found that interesting.
No, you gave me an alley-oop on that one. It was great.
Just an assist right to the corner there.
And then the kicker comes on. I'm like, it's a kick ball.
Yeah, you can't use your foot. Stupid idiot.
I know it's called football, but you can't fucking do that, dude. Okay, so let's get it. Let's move from the feet to the eyes, maybe, because they're up here.
Yeah.
The eyes is the perspective from which you have a first-person game.
Jesus Christ, that hurt my head.
Yeah. You know what? First-person games do hurt a lot of people's heads.
Do they?
They make people dizzy. I know a lot of people who can't play first-person games. A lot of the time, the head bobbing will do it, or just the weird uncanny valley. Like, I find motion sickness in games often occurs when the motion is like similar to real life, but not quite. Playing a driving game from first person, playing a flying game.
Yeah, some things don't work as first person, or for some people. I will say that also, this is how old we are, but like I remember when games went to 2 joysticks.
Oh, yeah.
And people were like, well, I think that's it for me. You know, like
100%.
I can't figure it out.
Especially first person. I remember playing Halo, and I had my brother play with me.
Yeah.
And this is like, you know, not too far removed from playing GoldenEye or like a single joystick game. And my brother's like, I can't play this game. Can I have GoldenEye controls? I'm like, you're not going to be able to control properly if you only use one joystick.
Yeah,
like that's absurd.
I know.
Yeah.
But it really did. We lost so many good people that day. Yeah. So
Probably for the best. First, I'm very much a culling of the herd fan.
Oh yeah, you're a Thanos truther.
Yeah, whoa. Here's the truth.
Okay, I guess
Get
I'm good.
out of here.
Yeah.
What would happen if you and I went downstairs and 50% of the world was gone? First of all, I'd be like, we dodged a bullet somehow.
Wow, we got so lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would the world dramatically change? I guess I would start checking in on people I knew, seeing which ones are gone.
I'd let them check in on me. It's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think phone lines would go down? Like it's one of those crazy.
I think with 50%, it would be the kind of thing where we'd be surprisingly okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, well, yeah, we would. Traffic just gets better.
Oh, so much better.
Amazing. Still like a rush hour. You're like, how?
What the
fuck?
Go. It's
God
green.
Damn
it's
it.
green. Here's a question. When Thanos snapped, two-part question. First one, did dead bodies disappear? 50% of the dead bodies?
Yes, I think so. Because we saw the superheroes go into dust, right?
Yeah.
So yes.
Well, why?
Well, so they disappear. There's not like, it's just not like a lifeless body on the ground.
Yeah,
anymore.
true. So even the
gone.
dead bodies go.
Yeah.
That'd be weird. So do you think anyone got exhumed in the following few months where they're like, I hope grandma's still there?
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh
Yeah,
my God,
yeah,
I never
yeah,
even
yeah,
thought
yeah.
about
Yeah.
that. Do you holy smokes, that is so
Just a
scary.
bunch of well, if you got cremated, is there less ash in the world?
Wow.
How do you know?
Do you imagine wow. Now I'm just thinking about the consequences of this. This
Never
is,
mind the human death. It's knowing whether dead people have disappeared.
The snap also probably killed a lot of people unintentionally. Whereas like somebody's just driving, they get
True.
snapped, that car just careens off the thing, smokes those people that made it.
How many planes fell from the sky that day because the pilots and they're like, is there a pilot on this flight? And they're like, me. But I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Yeah, no. Oh no. Or like just cruise liners, like big ships.
Yeah.
Just
here's a question though.
Okay, please.
Because when like Spider-Man disappears, when he doesn't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Yes.
His whole suit disintegrates.
Yeah.
Where does that stop?
Mm-hmm. Right. So if they're like holding a
cup?
drink or something like that.
Are they usual suspecting it and the drink
does
falls?
it fall?
And then Kevin Spacey gets
So
revived
how does
by
it
Piers
know
Morgan?
that the clothes, should go with it?
Yeah.
Because that'd be kind of funny and spooky, just a pile of clothes. Whoa.
That's what I was expecting, but no.
And then they're brought back to life. They come back, everyone's naked.
That would be a great day on Earth.
Really?
Where would you go?
Where would I
Whose
go?
house would you wait at?
Why do you always...
Where did Carmen Electra disappear?
Go to the most, I think we could see her naked if we wanted to. You want to see
but not
now Carmen Electra? Yes. I think we had like prime Carmen Electra, didn't we?
Oh, Andrew, you're so ageist.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I should like her the way she is.
You should.
Yeah, wow. That's you just sitting there, camera set up, popcorn bucket. Oh, this is gonna be the best day of my life. Carmen Electra.
Guess what? That popcorn bucket.
There's a hole in it. There's a hole in it.
I'd be like, Carmen, I
You
know
must
you've
be
been through a lot.
starving. Would you like some popcorn? Yes, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun.
That's a lot of fun. It's good fun.
It's a real fun idea for just tremendous purpose.
What about this?
Yes.
Wait, no. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, lay it on me.
There are two people. They're working in a factory.
Yeah.
Like the world's a big place. I guarantee you something like this would have been going on while the snap was occurring.
Sure.
Which did happen in history.
I was going to say.
Two people working in a factory. One of their sleeves gets caught in the gears of a big machine.
Okay.
And that's putting his buddy in danger because it's like, oh no, the safety valve. We can't oh no. And this guy's about to die.
Yeah.
Guy with the sleeve in the machinery disappears in the snap.
He gets snapped.
Along with his sleeve, which saves the life of the guy who was about to die.
Maybe I missed the first half of the story. What does that, what? Why does him...
The safety valve. The gears.
No, don't stop now.
The gears are leading to the safety valve.
Yeah.
Steam is spraying all over this guy.
Oh,
it's about to just eviscerate him.
I see.
Hot steam.
Yeah.
The safety valve needs to be pulled, but it can't.
Right.
Because this guy's shirt stuck in the gears.
He's trying to get to it.
Attached to the safety valve.
Right.
This guy gets snapped away.
Yeah.
Safety valve's pulled.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying.
This is like the tram.
It's a trolley problem.
The trolley problem.
Yes, I was gonna say because my other thing that I think you'd be like, it's funny. It's not funny. Excuse me. It's really sad if it like somebody else dies because you got snapped.
Yeah,
and there's like 2 people that died hypothetically that
Yeah.
day. But it'd be more like annoying. It's so funny if like a guy was on like a rail car track and they're doing the pump thing, and one of them gets snapped. He's like, oh no!
So many people got injured in seesaws that day.
Yeah, yeah. Just gets rocketed off of there.
How many babies died because they were being carried by their moms who got snapped away?
Oh, the visual of that is just horrifying. It's just horrifying.
I can't not think about it anymore.
Yeah. Do you think? Okay, so you're having sex with somebody, and
Okay, this is okay.
yeah, it's a hard one to get your head around. Eh?
Is it Carmen Electra?
Sure.
Where's the
It could be-
popcorn?
Yeah. On your head, probably. And one of you gets snapped. How long does that partner have to go like, okay, I gotta tell somebody, but I'm terrified that they're gonna blame it on me, like something I did.
Oh, because you wouldn't have known.
You don't know anyone else, so you're just sitting in an empty room like, now what do I do?
And also, do you finish?
Well, yeah, you can't.
You can't have blue balls.
You can't go into the world with blue balls.
Blue balls hurts.
Yes.
It hurts. It's bad for you.
Right. It is. It's not good for your reproductive systems.
No.
And yeah, do you
Oh my God, another one.
Okay, great.
Okay. Pregnant mother.
God, why do you keep going back to this?
Because it's 2 people in one.
They're at a Duke basketball game. It's a pregnant mother.
JJ Redick hugs up 3. But it's not
Marcy
JJ
Cola.
Redick. A pregnant mother who's like about to give birth.
Okay. She's in labor.
Yeah, she's in labor. That's what they call it?
Yeah.
Okay. She's in...
You're anti-labor. You wouldn't know that.
Yes.
You're pro-management.
It's weird because I had to give her so much time off work and now she goes in labor. I hope I'm not paying for this labor.
Yeah.
The mom gets snapped away.
Yeah.
Does the baby get snapped away too?
You're doing this again? I thought you just did this.
No. Mom's carrying baby, not carrying in their stomach.
Right.
Like breastfeeding a baby. Carmen Electra has a baby.
Because it's attached. Because it's attached. Is that what you're saying?
Well, or just in general, if I'm walking around with a baby in my hand and I disappear, that baby's skull's meeting the pavement real quick.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
But if I'm pregnant with a baby,
right,
and I get snapped away, which maybe it's the future.
Yeah. Who knows?
And in this scenario, maybe men can give birth.
Yeah.
Maybe.
In Biden's America, yeah, probably. San Francisco, thanks. Okay.
Come on.
Corn pop?
The mom gets snapped away.
See, no, if I still think the umbilical, I can't believe I have an opinion on this.
And a really strong one,
I was
too.
so like, no, stupid. Listen up. If they were attached by the umbilical cord, I think they both go.
I think that's probably true. If
we are dancing so close to Roe versus Wade right now that I just don't really want to keep going. But like, yeah, they probably both go.
Okay. I like that. You know what would be great though?
What?
If it weren't the case.
Yeah.
And there was a mom like, I really don't want this baby, but I mean, I'm in this post Roe versus Wade situation.
Biden.
Snap happens and you just look down and your stomach
deflates. Yes. Yeah. That's because that's also medically how it happens. Yes. Yeah. Just, it goes off like a party balloon.
And then the mom just flies away.
Whoa.
But the real, like the moms with like a real comedic chop.
Yes.
Will kind of like squeeze the opening and make that sound like,
yeah. Which is of course her navel.
The navel.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
The navel looks like a tied end of a balloon.
Right. So we hope everyone enjoyed 2019's Avengers Endgame.
Well, we just got back from the snap. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There had to be so many people that got returned from the snap, and the other people were like, oh, God. I just got used to like normal again. Like
if I returned from the snap, I would have been like, no. God damn it. It was so peaceful. It was so peaceful.
Yeah.
I was walking through fields in Greece feeling the tips of barley.
Like Gladiator?
Like Gladiator.
Gladiator 2's coming out soon.
Good.
Yeah.
We need it.
Hey, we're all asking for it.
If Thanos snapped, would one of the Gladiator movies disappear? Because if so, I hope it's number 2.
Yeah, I don't know. Denzel's in it. So we'll see.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey.
So Andrew, let's get to it. Let's get to our draft.
Why not? Otherwise, we're going to talk about this forever.
I could.
Yeah.
I honestly could. Let's get to our draft, Andrew. So we're taking a look at first-person games, and we're going to draft our 5 that we want on our team. We're going to try to get the greatest teams together. Some things to consider. We obviously want some variety in our games.
Yep.
You know, consideration for multiplayer is good. Consideration for story is good.
Yep.
Maybe innovation. I think we want to put a little bit of not a slant relative to the rest of them, but we want to prop up some of the retro first-person shooters as well for how they were at the time. So some consideration has to be given there. Anything else that you were considering when you were going through your list of games?
No, it's both. Is the game good? Like, can I still play it? And do I like it? Versus it's kind of like outweighted size in the industry and
Outrow versus weighted.
Yeah, 100%. And how important it was to the video game industry as a whole.
I think that's important too,
Yes.
for sure. The iconic nature of a game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think that makes sense, Andrew. Here's a question that I didn't know if I wanted to ask it to you before we started drafting, because it kind of changes things potentially. First-person shooter. Does that include first-person adventure games? Is it about the perspective or the action?
I only chose shooters.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think I'd be open to either. I think that's totally fine.
Okay. Sounds good.
But also, that's why I just chose shooters. Just keep that in mind.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, why don't you, I think I had the first pick on the last time we did a draft. So why don't you start us off with your number one pick for first-person games, not necessarily just shooters.
Wow. Okay. This is going to be tough. I think I'm going to go back in the Wayback Machine and
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah, you barely let me start, but yeah.
I don't want you to finish.
Okay. Yeah, whoa.
Before we pick, we should have done this before. Can you give a little bit of your perspective on the first person genre? Like, where does that rank for you among other genres of games?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. I know I only say this because in comparison to a lot of people, first person shooters are the game that they play the most.
Yeah.
There is so much of modern day games that are almost exclusively first person shooters.
Yeah.
We've created whole industries around this idea. And I would say I'm not necessarily one of those people.
Okay.
And we can kind of elaborate more as we start naming games and stuff like that. But yet there were still huge parts of these games that I've loved forever, even from the beginning of gaming in general. So while not my favorite, still very important to me.
Yeah, I hear that. There was a phase where they definitely were my favorite. And I think you're right. I think a lot of people associate video games with first-person shooters. Like one cannot exist without the other. I think it's just such a, like when there's a movie that has like a first-person perspective, people are like, oh, it's like a video game.
Yeah,
it's like video games are so many more things, but people outside of the space often attribute, I think it's either like 2D side scrollers or first-person shooters more than any other genre or type of game. They associate those with video games.
Yeah, I think it is so... yeah, you're right. That like is the foot stamp of like this is video games.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And just seeing hands.
Yep.
And just
100%.
Whatever.
Little slapper.
Yeah. Ooh, maybe we'll see that later.
Do you like first-person games more now or when you were younger?
Less now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think when I was younger, I think I liked it more because it felt so video gamey.
Yes.
And new. You know, we're old, so like
sure.
this was a newer thing. Now it's kind of gone back to a third person or side scrolling or whatever.
Yep, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So let me let you get back to it then.
Okay, my first pick.
Can I interrupt you? No, I'm kidding.
I'm gonna go back in the Wayback Machine and pick one of the most important video games of all time.
Okay.
I'm gonna choose Doom.
It's a great first pick.
I think it's an unavoidable pick too because it almost created this idea, like it, that and the original Wolfenstein. And I'm sorry, I'm having Wolfenstein. He left Germany around that time. Wolfenstein and those kind of coming out in a pair, but I think Doom is the superior game.
Yes.
So that's why I chose that. It also just, there's so much that we know about Doom that helped create video games.
Yep.
And we kind of leached off of that from there. And still kind of a lot of fun. So Doom, I thought was just a natural number one pick.
Yeah, I agree with you. And having gone back, you and I, and played Doom on the podcast a while ago, and also Wolfenstein, like Wolfenstein was good. Doom was the better game for sure. And I think it holds up as a game that you can play today. I think it has one of the most iconic weapons in first-person shooter history in the Doom shotgun.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot. For my first pick,
All right, here we go.
I'm going to go with one that I think would have stayed off of your picks for a while. But
interesting.
I feel like I have to do it the service of giving it my first pick because of how iconic this game is and what it led to down the line. I'm going, for the purposes of story mode in the base game and multiplayer for all the mods that it got, Half-Life 1.
Yeah, Half-Life. I knew we did our Gamer Shame recently.
Yes.
In the last month, probably,
Yeah.
or something like that. And this was one of those games that
Yes.
I don't have on there. Yet I know was going to be some people's number one.
It is. The reason why I have to go with it is not only was it innovative in terms of storytelling and a selection of like an everyman kind of hero, which was still new to video gaming.
He had glasses.
He had glasses. He had a crowbar. He was just doing his best.
Yeah.
The story was great. The gameplay was fantastic. It spawned I'm going to call it a franchise, even though there's only 2 of them with a couple offshoots, but one of the most iconic franchises of all time. And the mods, I'm assuming that with Half-Life, I get access to Counter-Strike, which is incredibly popular, and Team Fortress, which is one of my favorite multiplayer games of all time.
Yeah.
Half-Life 1. Join the fucking team, baby.
There you go. Well, Half-Life. Yeah, great pick. Obviously, wasn't going to be mine, but I think that would have been a lot of people's number one. So there you go. Okay, so Doom, Half-Life. All right, my next pick. Second pick of my team. Third pick of the draft is going to be, very similar to Doom in the way that, but just... 12 years later or something like that. This put a stamp on a huge generation of players, the chance to play with each other. Not that way, you freak. And
sorry, Carmen, you gotta wait over there.
You little pervert. In the way that it just changed things forever. So I'm going to choose Halo.
Halo felt like it also could have been a number one pick on a lot of people's. When you think about your experiences playing multiplayer games, I know there's a couple other options too, but did you have that experience with Halo multiplayer that a lot of people had, that open world kind of, you get on the back of the Warthog? Was that big for you?
Yeah, that was really big. It was really big. Well, right before I went to university.
Yeah.
And so that was still very much an after effect where like people were like, can you believe we have time to just sit around and play video games all together? Because people, lived on top of each other.
Right.
That was
in more ways than one in university.
Absolutely.
Right. Give me a high five.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
You
looked at me because you slapped your own hand of like, is that good enough, or do we actually have to get up and do
this?
Yeah,
do I have to stand
You
up?
like rolled your eyes at me. You're like, you're not going to make me do this.
It's how the sausage is made. So, Halo just, defined like a whole generation.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. Do you have a lot of memories playing Halo?
I do. I think one of the reasons why it's a great pick is because both for multiplayer, which was iconic and everlasting, also the story. Like I don't know if I've ever enjoyed the story mode of a single player first person shooter as much as Halo. I used to go back and play those early levels over and over and over again because I had never experienced getting into a car, driving in this wide open space, sniper rifles, then getting up close with a shotgun and the pistol, and everything just felt great. It looked amazing because it was cutting edge technology on the Xbox. I absolutely adored Halo, and if you didn't pick it for that one, that would have been my next pick.
Oh, would have been your next pick? Okay,
sure.
Wow. So now I'm very curious where you're going to go.
I think there's one left over, and I can't remember which draft we were doing when I picked this game, but you kind of rolled your eyes at it because it hasn't aged as well as we thought it would.
Okay.
But in terms of, being iconic, in terms of, you talk about how Halo brought people together for multiplayer. I don't know if there was a game that made a bigger stamp on the first person genre than this game, which also brought first person games to consoles in a way that had never before existed. It's GoldenEye 64.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be hard to. I agree with you that we've gone back and played a little bit, and it's like it is a little rough, but you cannot place an outsized importance on this game. Like it is just the 007 was video games for people.
It was, and it was like, hey, let's have a sleepover and play GoldenEye.
Until our eyes bleed.
Until your eyes bleed, and all the different match variations. And another, like, a style of single player that I miss in first person shooters. I would love if a game came back and paid homage to the single player where each level is 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And the key is, perfecting the levels, and the difficulty adds more objectives. It's a fantastic formula for a first person shooter. And I remember actually bumping off of Halo a little bit when I first played it, because I'm like, these missions are an hour long. I just want to choose my dossier, play 5 minutes, and go back to it. Yeah. And I struggled to get used to this new style of first person shooter in Halo.
Yeah, okay. This is probably where I was going to, so that's good. That's off the board. Now I think we're getting more wide open.
Now we are definitely more wide open, yes.
So the problem with these drafts is, as much as I am trying to construct my own team, I'm also trying to body Mikey out of picks.
You have to.
That he would want, and I also am trying to get but I don't want to pick something that I know he's not going to pick. I think I can wait on that one then.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, a question for you. Could I have waited on Half-Life?
Oh, yeah.
What would you have picked as your second pick if I If I left Half-Life on the board, would you have gone straight to Halo?
I probably still would have gone Halo, but that would have opened up Goldeneye for me.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so, you know, yeah. Okay. Oh, this is so tough. Okay, yeah, I'm going to take Bioshock.
I was worried. For some reason, I didn't know if you would do it.
Bioshock is probably my favorite video game of all time. It's just the problem is, why didn't I take it first then if it's my favorite video game of all time? It's not my favorite game because it's my favorite first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Is the shooting tremendously good in this game? It's okay. Yeah. So that's why I thought I would kind of reduce it a little bit if that is the qualification that we're ranking it on.
True.
If it was story and atmosphere and stuff, it's at the top for me. But this one, it reduces a little bit. Now, the first person that makes a lot of fun for Bioshock is both you have a gun or a weapon,
right,
the physical thing,
yep,
and you have a tonic or a
bunch of bees in your hands.
Yeah, you have bees. You can throw fire. You can, tons of stuff.
Crows.
Murder of crows.
Murder of crows is always right.
Let me look up here. Wait.
Oh, we got Winter Blast.
Winter Blast.
Telekinesis. Electro Bolt.
Incinerate the fire. So yeah, lots of stuff to choose from. I just love Bioshock. And I probably said it many times in this podcast. So probably don't need to say more.
I agree with you. I was, for some reason, it didn't strike me as it was one of the last games that I wrote down because I was like, oh, right, wait, Bioshock. Yeah. And that was the game that I put on my list where I was like, wait, we can go a bunch of different types of games for this. Like we can go anything with a first-person perspective is kind of on the table for it. And it started with Bioshock because I never think of it like a first-person shooter.
No, right? Yeah. Especially with some of the other picks that we're going to be saying. So what is your number 3 pick going to be?
My number 3 pick, I feel like one thing that we've neglected so far is a first-person shooter that is multiplayer for multiplayer's sake. Oh. Kind of an always-on multiplayer game. And I struggled with a few different options for this, and I think I'm going to go with my personal pick because I think there's a better pick to make in this type of first-person shooter game, but I can't have a list of first-person games without including a game that I devoted years of my life to. It's Overwatch.
I didn't even think about Overwatch. Yeah. Holy shit. Overwatch is first person. Oh,
it's first person. I mean, maybe the exception. Well, Reinhardt holding his shield, or that might be it. But for the most part, it's back first person. Yeah, that's the wrecking ball a little bit, not first person when you're in your ball mode. But for the most part, it's first person.
Wow. Yeah. Like once again, what more can we say about Overwatch that hasn't been said on this podcast? But you're one of your favorite games of all time, just based on the number of hours you put in.
100%. Varied in the sense that, kind of like you talk about Bioshock, what made it great wasn't necessarily the gunplay, but in the variation in mechanics, the inclusion of almost magic elements to it, plus story and atmosphere and everything, obviously. But what makes Overwatch to me great is it's first person, but it's essentially like 16 games in one because everyone controls so differently.
Yeah, they vary so much in their abilities. And I would completely agree with you. Man, I didn't have Overwatch on my list at all.
Oh, wow. Yeah, nice.
And that's just, I would have if I had thought about it, but I just forgot about it. All right. 2 picks left. Here we go. All right. I'm going to choose a huge franchise. I'm going to choose an installment from a huge franchise that I think would be like a cardinal sin if we did not include in this. Okay. I'm going to choose Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
That is the one I chose from this because I think it also stamps a different generation when it kind of advanced into the not future, but in the current times. And it became the game that was like, can you believe Call of Duty is coming out this weekend? And then millions and millions of people would shut down the internet.
For sure.
It's unbelievable. Its importance to do it. Now, this is before it started going into more battle royale stuff.
Yep.
This was just
like Warzone.
Yeah. Warzone, excuse me. Thank you. This is just more straight up online play, snipers, it's just an incredible time in video gaming because it feels a little bit more innocent than it does now. But man, was this good. And it was straight up shooting and it was very, very good at it.
Did you get into the Call of Duty franchise?
This would be the game I got into. Yeah. This is the game. And you also were baffled at how good people were at it.
Yes.
Like you couldn't
especially using a controller. That's the problem. Like in terms of professional gaming, it's almost always mouse and keyboard, but there's something about Call of Duty where people play like on the Xbox or something like that, which is incredibly impressive. I don't know many people who didn't have this game.
Right.
Like everyone had this game, including myself, who wasn't really a fan of the Call of Duty franchise beyond Call of Duty 1. Call of Duty 4 was just synonymous with gaming in a way that very few games ever are. It just permeated everything. I considered Call of Duty 4 as well, and I had it kind of back and forth if the pick came to me between that and Warzone.
Yeah.
Just because Warzone is like the most modern version, and it would have been between like a Warzone or an Overwatch, like an always on, only for multiplayer game that seems like it's just getting people to like churning players and content and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with you. I'm glad to hear that. It's so funny too about everyone owning that game. Of all the games on here, I can tell you what that cover looks like.
Oh,
why? I don't know. 100%. But like That is such, to me, an iconic one. And having Call of Duty for first-person shooter is, I think, really important.
Yeah, I there was a part of me that considered if I got one Call of Duty to get more Call of Duty games. But I kind of, for the sake of the interest in the draft, want to avoid double dipping on franchises. So I'm gonna move to a different pick. And I think I can hold off on one pick until my last one that you wouldn't get otherwise. Sure. You've already got Doom. And I think that era of first-person shooter, it's important to represent it. It's important to me that we represent it. I'm going to go with not Doom, which I think is a fantastic pick and warrants the number one position. But I'm going to go with one that I actually may have enjoyed the gameplay of a little bit more. It's a little bit more adult in terms of it having boobs in it.
Yeah, shake it, baby.
Shake it, baby. It's Duke Nukem 3D.
Yeah. It's funny, the Wolfenstein thing. I mentioned Wolfenstein earlier because I thought he's not going to take that. He'll take Duke Nukem.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Like I completely agree with you that I think atmosphere. Well, not even atmosphere, but definitely the story and the world is much more developed in Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
It's more like, this is my opinion, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. The cops are pigs.
Who would have seen that coming? The cops are pigs.
Strippers are alive.
Yes, and working still. Yeah, they have a job. They have to pay rent for some reason, I guess. Whereas Doom is much more of a straightforward game. So Duke Nukem.
Plus, Duke Nukem, you can aim up and down.
Yeah. When's John Cena going to make that movie? Come on.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I feel like after Duke Nukem Forever, though, maybe the franchise needs to go away forever.
Forever, yeah. Duke Nukem goes away forever. Yeah. Okay, my fifth pick and my last pick of the draft. This one's for Daddy.
Ooh, dude, I have. So I was going through categories: multiplayer, story, single player, wild card, innovation, classic. And then the last one I had is this one's just for Daddy.
Did you really?
I did, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I always knew the last pick of every draft is usually just one that I would take and you wouldn't. And so I had no danger of, you stealing it from me and I can wait till the end. This is not my favorite version of this game, in the franchise. But this is by far the best, especially when it comes to first-person shooters.
Okay.
Which is surprising for a bunch of reasons. But the first one I really loved because the way it told the story and the atmosphere and the levels that it was in. And even though this guy loves Louisiana and loves the South there too, I actually like the first version. Even the second one is set in Louisiana. I'm going to choose Left 4 Dead 2.
Oh, right. Yeah, Left 4 Dead. Yeah,
Left 4 Dead 2 is the better shooter of games.
For sure.
It is just, there is much more you can do. The style of weaponing, the melee, whatever, and the type of enemies was really, really great. I really love this game, but I couldn't get over how much I loved one and the movies telling and going through the subway and the streets and the stuff. It felt more like the place I knew, like the city. Whereas the second one is just a better game, and especially when it comes to first-person shooters. So Left 4 Dead 2.
You're picking Left 4 Dead 2.
Yes, I'm picking Left 4 Dead 2. Yeah.
That's a game that I saw on a list, and I was like, the only way I could get that from you is by picking it higher, and I can't warrant putting that on my list. I like Left 4 Dead. I'm a fan of the game. I'm happy it exists. I know a lot of people who spent a lot of time playing it, but for some reason I just never really got into it. I don't know why.
Even when we went back and played it, you're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, whatever, what you do.
My preference in games is always fewer, more interesting enemies as opposed to let me mow down
hordes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is mostly this game. So, yeah.
So my last pick of the draft, my honorable mentions is going to be longer than my list of games itself because there are so many ways I can go with this, including the non-shooter style.
Right.
But I think just for the sake of this draft and keeping it more concise, I'm going to go with a more shooter type of game, and one that you and I haven't done on the podcast, but I think is maybe the most underrated first-person shooter of all time.
Wow.
It makes a lot of people's sneaky best of lists. I loved this game when I was playing it back in the day. I know it's split in the franchise between this and another entrant in terms of what represents the franchise the best, but it's Time Splitters 2 is what I'm going to be going with.
Very cool.
An unbelievable franchise, an incredibly fun game. One of the few first-person shooter games that I enjoyed playing with a PlayStation controller, just because I don't like the joysticks where they are for some reason, but I love Time Splitters 2.
Oh yeah, I can't really argue with that one. That's a great game.
Yeah.
So
and Future Perfect would have been the other one that Time Splitters Future Perfect would have been the one that a lot of people I think like better, but yeah.
Okay. Well, let's recap our teams and then we can name some ones we didn't.
Sounds
pick,
good.
Okay. With my first pick, I chose Doom. Second pick was Halo. Third was Bioshock. Number 4 was Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, and number 5 was Left 4 Dead 2.
Nice. Mine. I started my number 1 pick with Half-Life. I got my number 2 pick with Goldeneye that's the McDavid and Draisaitl of this draft. I went to Overwatch for my third, Duke Nukem for my fourth, and Time Splitters 2 as my final pick.
Awesome. What did you not pick that you would have wanted to do an honorable mention for?
So there's in the Just for Daddy pick, which I actually didn't end up. Time Splitters was kind of in there for me, but I think that's a more popular game to warrant that. No One Lives Forever is a game that I played way back in the day. I think it was also on the PlayStation. It was kind of a 70s era. Not femme fatale. I don't think femme fatale is more of like a film noir thing, right?
Yeah, like Nikita or something.
Yeah,
like that.
No, this is more of like a 70s era, like with hair with the bob, like
cool.
like almost James Bond. But
yeah.
A great design in game, very tongue in cheek, almost Austin Powers-y at times. I really love the set design. 13 was a game with a kind of cell shading design. I think David Duchovny voiced the main character in it. I've always been a big fan of that game. Call of Duty 1 is one that I like. Maybe my favorite experience in a first-person shooter was the first mission after the parachuting in Call of Duty 1, which I absolutely adored. Half-Life 2, Stalker would have been a great one as well. Fallout was one that I thought warranted being on a list, but it's less of a shooter. Quake as a multiplayer game, and then Skyrim, which, not a shooter, but definitely first person.
Yeah, I had Far Cry 3, Borderlands 2, and Perfect Dark.
Oh, Perfect Dark, yeah. I figure in a draft with GoldenEye, it's tough to put Perfect Dark on it, but
Perfect Dark would have been contention for the last pick. That was pretty much what I was thinking, because I still really loved that game.
Yeah, of course. I, in fact, probably played... No, GoldenEye is still the one. But I played
single player more. I played more Perfect Dark.
Yeah,
multiplayer.
I may have honestly. Yeah.
So there you go.
Great game.
Those are our lists. What did we miss? Let us know. There's got to be tons of first person shooters.
And who won? Who was the better list? Don't tell us unless I got it. Otherwise, I'm going to snap and you're going to disappear. And I'm going to be waiting at your house when I snap you back into existence, and you're going to be naked and you're going to be so embarrassed.
Yeah, there'll be a popcorn bucket. You know what that means. Mikey's a pervert. Well, on that fantastic note, we love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name's Adrian Bascom. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over.
Are you slapping?
Slappers only, baby.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Yeah. You know what? First-person games do hurt a lot of people's heads.